lived up in Iowa City. I went up to Iowa City because I needed some medical treatments from the VA, and I'd lived in Davenport previous to that. And I had a lot of medical problems and some psychological problems. And so I went to Iowa City to get medical treatments. I got some medical treatments. Some of it worked a little bit, some of it didn't. And then I just got really disgusted with the VA hospital and a lot of the things that they were doing. And so I just started praying and asking God to heal me or do something, because I was just tired of being sick all the time. And so I got supernaturally healed, and then I had to move out of the place that I was in. A friend had rented a trailer to me, and then she wanted to sell the trailer because she needed the money. And so I was going to have no place to stay, so I was praying and asked God what I should do. And so I sold my stuff, gave away a bunch of my things and things, and I felt led to go down to minister on the streets. And so I went down to Davenport first for a little bit, and I got a book about the Church on the Street, which is in Phoenix, Arizona here. And I read about what they were doing. I thought that would be kind of cool to go and get some training doing that. And I met a pastor in Davenport who was connected with them. And so he called down there and talked to them, and I got a bus ticket and went down to Phoenix to go to Church on the Street to learn some different ministries type stuff and to minister on the streets. And when I got there, things weren't connected up, and so I had to go to CAS, which is a Central Arizona Shelter System. There I met some people who were trying to change some of the ways that CAS did their business, because it seemed to not be as much help as it could be, and created some problems for homeless people. The CAS system did. And I met some people that were connected with the Arizona Organizing Project, Bill Black, and later on George Roundy and Scott Jacobson. And I got to talking to them, and I got to helping them, volunteered helping them with the Arizona Organizing Project and helping the homeless. And later on, they decided to open the community center and also have people sleeping over at the community center. And so I got a job. I wrote a letter to become an intern, and I started helping run the little homeless program that we had there at the Community Center for Arizona Organizing Project. And then later on, after the funding kind of went down for the community center, then I had no place else to go, so I talked to Scott Jacobson, George, and I wanted to go back to Iowa, where I was from, and because I'd met my daughter, who I hadn't seen for quite a few years there. Her name's Megan, and I want to go back and see her. And then I met my wife Janet here shortly before the community center didn't get any more funding, and so I was going to church with her for a little bit, and we were talking and having a pretty good time together, and I decided I was going to propose to her, and I proposed to her on the bus going to church, which kind of surprised everybody. And later on, Janet and I got married, and we got married at a little church that the Arizona Organizing Project had people sleeping over at, because they couldn't sleep at the community center anymore because it was no longer there. And we had our honeymoon in a hotel, and then we took a bus ride back to Iowa to start our lives as a married couple.
First, how did you end up homeless, and how did you meet Gary?
Well, when I got homeless, I lost everything, and I had a handicapped daughter that I was taking care of, and I wanted to take care of her first. So I got to where I could put her someplace where they would take care of her and make sure she had a roof over her head. And then I had to try to figure out things for myself to work on me. And then ended up at the women's shelter. I went to Church on the Street. I don't know why, but I went there and I told them, no way, I'm not staying here. Find me another place to stay. So they found me another place to stay at the women's shelter. I got in there, and then I started going every day looking for a job, trying to find a place to live and try to get back on my feet, because I didn't like the situation that I was in. And I knew I had to do something to change it, because I was not used to being like that, being homeless, not having nothing, having someone tell me when to go to bed, when to get up, and doing other things, that they want me to do. And then I met Gary, and we started talking. I went by the house with Melissa, because he had her bus pass for her, and he gave Melissa his phone number, and she gave it to me, and I said, well, I will call him. So I called him and left a message on his phone, and I guess he was kind of like scared because I did that. And then I was trying to talk to him, but he just kept like blowing me off. So he called me up and he told me that he didn't think it was right, and that he was kind of scared, and that it wasn't a good thing to do. And I said, okay. I said, well, if you don't want to talk to me, or if you don't want to see me, then say it. Leave you alone. I'll leave you alone. And he's like, no. And he goes, I got to call you back. Okay. I waited. He called back. So, what's up? I'm sorry. I think we should go to the movies. So we went to the movies, and then it just went on from there. And he did something that I was not expecting him to do in front of everybody, and that was get down on one knee in front of everybody and propose to me.
On a church bus.
On a church bus. And then we called up Scott, and he only had 30 minutes to get things ready. Poor Scott. And we had our wedding. And then Gary decided we were going to go back to his hometown. I figured, okay, this would be something different. It's a new experience. So we get there. No, it's not a new experience. I did not like Iowa. And I told him this, and I said, if things don't change, I want to go back to Arizona. Don't worry, things is going to change. Trust me, they will change. They will change. And then our time ran out there, so we ended up going to Iowa City, and went to the shelter there, and they gave us, 90 days?
Yeah, 90 days.
90 days to make sure that we'd have jobs, a place to live, and that they established, make sure that when we did have jobs, we were supposed to take our money and save our money, which we did. And Gary got the first job. I was still looking. And then I got a job. Then I got 2 jobs. And then I started putting the money aside, and then we started looking for an apartment. And of course, we had a bump in the road, and they wouldn't rent to us. And I'd call Scott and asked him a favor. Didn't want to, and trust me, I bit my lip hard that day. And I asked him, and he said, anything you need, anything you want, I'll make sure it happens. And it happened. Got our apartment, still working. Got him onto where I was working at, and then got 2 raises, started saving more money up, started putting money aside, because I want a vehicle, because I don't like the bus system. I'm sorry, but I'm independent. And got a vehicle, bought that, and decided I was going to come here for my vacation. So I came back to Arizona. Here I am.
So when you got to Iowa, Gary, you suddenly have a wife who is African American.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up in that area.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see about racism that you hadn't maybe known before?
Well, in Davenport, it seemed like, Davenport's a pretty diverse community. There's black, white, and Hispanics. And when we went to the shelter, it seemed like they were kind of discriminatory against Janet and I. because when we got there, we went to what's called Stand Down, and it's a thing for veterans, and they can take their spouses too. And they give you, if you're homeless, you get clothes, and you get some new shoes, and you get fed pretty good, and they try and help you out if you have any legal problems, and they have all different kinds of services and help there for you. And then plus they have really good food, and it's a warm place because it's usually stand downs are usually in the winter or very cold months. And so the shelter said, well, you're going to stand down. Are you going to stand down? Because Gary's a veteran. And I said, yeah, we're going to stand down. And they said, well, she can't go. And I go, no, that's not true, because I've been a stand down before when I was homeless, and veterans do take their wives. Well, she's not your wife. I said, yes, she is. And they asked her if she was my wife, and she said yes. And they said, well, we got a marriage certificate. And they said, well, you have to take that with you to prove it. So we went to stand down, we took the marriage certificate, and they asked us to prove it, and so we showed them our marriage certificate and everything. But what happened was all the other wives and husbands of the veterans, none of them had to prove it, and none of them were married legally, okay? They were just kind of living together. One guy was not even divorced from his wife and took his girlfriend to stand down, and none of them, we talked to them, and none of them had to prove that they were married. So we thought that was kind of strange, as we were the only mixed racial couple, black and white, and the others were black and black, male and female, and white, but that none of them were married. But we had to have a marriage license, or they were going to send her back to the shelter, and she couldn't go to stand down. But everybody else who wasn't married got to go. And that kind of ticked us off, and we tried to talk about it, and they tried, oh, no, we're not being racist, or nothing like it. It sure looks like it to me. And then we only had 31 days there, and they were going to boot us both out. They said I could stay, but my wife could not stay because she was not a veteran. But I could stay 2 years. I go, what's my wife going to do then? She's going to be on the street without me, and we just got married. That's wrong. And so, no, if she leaves, I leave. So when she had to leave, I left, and I had the VA, called up a VA guy, and he took us from Davenport to Iowa City. And then we stayed in the shelter at Iowa City, and that was 90 days. So in 90 days, we had to go ahead and get everything together as far as money for jobs, money for rent, get out of the shelter and get into a place. And
what about the test things that we had to do? Our little programs that we had to...
Oh, we had to go to a lot of different types of little programs whereby you'd have guys that were trying to do their doctorates and their theses for psychology and psychiatry, and they'd come to the shelter down there in Iowa City, and they'd kind of, well, Janet called them, they said that we were their guinea pigs because they were kind of trying to see,
We were.
yeah, because they were trying to see kind of what we were made of and all this kind of stuff, and they were they'd ask all these different questions. What do you think about this and this? And so, we just spoke our mind, and that kind of made some of them mad, especially the ones that kind of run the program. And then when we finally did get to where we looked over an apartment, and we're going to get this apartment, there was this lady that worked for the realtor that made us jump through hoops. First we needed 1 month's rent up front as a deposit, and then the rent, and we had that. And then she said, no, we can't do that, okay? You need like 2 months rent, and we need a lot of rental history and stuff. Well, we didn't have a lot of things for a rental history that we could just pull out, because Janet had tried to contact some of her previous landlords, and they had moved, and so we couldn't get a hold of them, didn't know where they were. And then I had tried to get a hold of some people, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. So we basically had to go ahead and we called one of my former bosses, Scott, and talked to him, and he said he would help us out, and we're moving in and everything. A few months after that, somebody called up and said, well, we're going to show your apartment. And I go, what? I called Janet, my wife here, and I said, hey, they're planning on showing our apartment today. We got a year's lease. Why are we showing our apartment 3 months later? Are we going to move? She goes, not that I know of. I said, well, I don't know of anything either. So we called back and said, well, we're not planning on moving. Oh, you're not? Well, your lease is up like the end of this month. And I go, no, we have a year-long lease. And so I don't know what was going on, but it just seemed like they were trying to get rid of us. But yet there were other couples in there that were black, white, and they didn't bother them at all. But they sure did not like Janet and I being in this apartment. They tried to like hold up everything until we, had Scott as a friend, call and talk to them and stuff, and then we had to put down 2 months rent and everything and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty hectic there. It just looked to me like they were being prejudiced. But
Talk about the award you got.
Okay. It's a success story. The woman, the lady that helped me, her name is Sharon Thompson. She helped me get the job that I have now. Because I told her I hadn't had a job in over 20-something years and didn't know about going about how to fill the application out anymore because everything now is online. So she said, no problem, we'll take care of that. We went down, she got me the job. And then for dinner, they gave me, it was for all employees, all new employees that's been there for a while, they get this reward. So they gave me this little pen, this little star pen with a little stone in it, that you've been there for a year, and that they appreciate you being there, your services, and that you want to stay there since you've been there a year, so that means you want to continue staying there. And I was taught because what I do is I'm a housekeeper, I clean. So when I clean, I sing. And when I sing, that makes me feel good. So I be singing through all my rooms and everyone can hear me. So apparently, I guess, the heads that came up and they heard me one day and they're like, who's singing? And I popped out like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. They go, no. Sounds good. Sounds real good. You sound like you're happy. I am happy. So that was a talk of the dinner that I sing and they're all like, well, I'm going to have to catch her singing. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's all fun.
We'll take turns on this one. Why is it important for there to be programs like Sheltered in Faith in all the communities across the United States? What about it? What works about it?
well, I believe that you should have like shelter and faith programs together because the fact that you can not only get your life back on track, like if you've had some upsets in life where you've lost your housing or can't find like family to help you out, or maybe your family's passed away and they can't help you or you can't locate them at all, then people that are in the different churches or Christian or religious type institutions, they help out people. It helps them and makes them feel good, but it also helps them to see that you're really trying to get yourself up off for being down and pick yourself up off the ground if you've lost everything and don't know where your family is. So, and your faith, in God helps you to, stay strong and see that there is hope in the world and there are good people that are trying to help people in the world.
No, there's still good people in the world.
Yeah, and that that there are some people out there that want to help, maybe they just don't know how to help, and there are, some people just don't know, like I said, how to help, and I think there should be a connection between spirituality and help as far as for people who are homeless or people who are having difficulties keeping housing or jobs, because faith programs that help encourage you, and it makes the people feel good that are doing the helping too, and it shows you that people really do care, because sometimes when you're out there you just feel that nobody cares, there's no hope, nobody wants to help, and that you're just not important. And to some people that may be true, but to a lot of people that's not true.
I think it's a good thing that it makes you stop and realize, okay, what you had, okay, you're never going to get that back. Now it's time for you to move on, find something else that makes you happy and that is going to bring you up to where you can start doing better things for yourself, to improve yourself by getting yourself out, getting a job, finding new friends, getting into the community, being active in the community, being more happier, cheerful, and have that positive attitude and not a negative, because a negative, it's not going to get you anywhere. Positive attitude, that'll get you far.
Awesome. You actually answered my next question. So one last question. What is your plans to carry on the legacy of programs like Shelter in Faith? What's in your future to help other people that have been in your situation?
Well, Gary wants to open up
Christian homeless shelters.
A Christian homeless shelter.
Yep. One that helps provide like jobs and build up skills like for jobs like cooking and different other types of things. Cooking's been a good part of my life, and Janet here, she has a 40 degree in culinary arts, and she loves to cook. I love to cook. But I think that some people may have some people may have skills that a lot of people don't even know about, okay? And if you can go ahead and create like a place or for them, like shelter, but also to put those skills to use, like say if somebody has electrical work, cause them, put them in with somebody who's an electrician so they can learn more and do more, and then fix the electrical problems in the homeless shelter, or cook for the homeless shelter. Or maybe my plan was to have a homeless shelter and a restaurant so you can put people to work, okay? And then when the equipment breaks down, you got maintenance people to fix the equipment, so that puts the people that have maintenance skills and electrical skills together, but then it also teaches a lot of people cooking. And some people, they may not like to cook, but they may love just to wash dishes, okay? So, not one of my favorite things, but it has to be done, right? But
Someone's got to do it, right?
someone's got to do it sooner or later. And so, put people that have the different abilities together. And also, one thing that I've seen very lacking in some of the homeless shelters that I've been through in a couple, and they toss the people out to go look for jobs when some of them could do jobs in the homeless shelter themselves and put them to work right there, and they already know the different problems that homeless people have, so they're more compassionate, and can help them in better ways than people who may have a psychology degree, but they've never been homeless in their life. They don't know anything about being homeless, and they don't know what homeless people go through. And they don't know about how if you imply that you're trying to help this person and then you don't, that the homeless people think you've just been lying to them, and then they ignore you or turn you off, and then sooner or later you're going to probably throw them out of your shelter because you think they're not trying. But they're just tired of people lying to them, or they're tired of people implying they're going to help and don't really help. And there are people out there that really want and need jobs, but they got to develop their skills and things like that.
You have anything, Janet?
No.
One last thing. I want you to speak directly to this camera again. And what would you say to church leaders that are thinking about getting involved and using their church as the way that Sheltered Faith helps in, like your idea? What would you say to get them to take action?
Well, I think that everything in life is a growth process, and some people they like when you're a child, okay, you go ahead and you start with some ideas and stuff, but as you grow older, some of those ideas can't come to fruition and blossom, but other ideas can. And ministry basically means help. So anybody who's connected with a church or a church type group or a prayer group, they can all help. You can volunteer in a homeless shelter, or if say somebody needs some money and you don't want to give the person money directly, maybe you can have them do some landscaping for you, or maybe you can have them paint your house or wallpaper your house or something like that. There are other things that people can do and there's ways that church people and non-church people can go ahead and help others, okay, that are homeless. I just think that, people need to start acting on their faith. They need to say, oh yeah, I believe this, and I believe we should help the people, okay? Then instead of just believing they should, actually do it. Actually help them. Do something concrete that makes a difference in a homeless person's life to get back on their feet. If it's kind word or just listening to them, or helping them by having them mow your lawn because they need money to go get that bus pass. Whatever. Or employ them as a worker in your shelter or in your church, as some like the night watch person over the homeless people.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I know some people have done. I've known some people have done that.
What would you say, Janet, to churches to convince them to take action?
you're going to say it, do it. Don't pretend.
Yeah.
Don't keep them like, how can I put
In
this?
suspense?
No, I need to put this away. I'm trying to think here. Instead of being like a cat with a ball and a string and you're pulling that string and you keep teasing that cat until what happens? That cat's going to get pissed off at you and he's going to scratch you. Okay? Don't do that. Just, if you're going to do it. Okay? Don't hesitate. Just do it. You know deep in your heart it's the right thing to do. That's all I have to say.
Awesome.